This is Naomi Guy, and over there is
Len Zuro.
And he's my boyfriend. If this is your first time tuning in, I hated that I just said that.
Yeah, that was disgusting.
This podcast, we explore dating, relationships, and sex. So let's get right into it, Len. What the fuck are we talking about today?
We are talking about this little-known show called...
It's not little known.
It's not little known.
It's like
it was very
everyone
recently
on
made
Netflix.
clear to me. It's called F-Boy Island. It was recently made clear to me and you on one of our last trips to San Diego.
How did we find this show?
I was mildly drunk and my sister started playing it on the TV. And then I got hooked. I don't know why. I will admit it. I got hooked into it.
It was to the point where we were going on a walk around San Diego and he was like, we should really watch Fuckboy Island when we get home. And I was like, you know what? You're right. So before we jump into Fuckboy Island and what it's all about, let's introduce our drink. This is Dad's Orange Cream Soda. You didn't even cheers me. You're really bad at this podcast thing. Well, it tastes like orange soda with a little bit of vanilla.
Yeah, not bad. It's good.
So, Fuckboy Island. Let's get into it.
Fuckboy Island. Okay. The premise of the show is very much Love Island kind of bachelor type premise where there are a bunch of suitors going for women. Whoa, both ways.
They haven't done that yet.
They haven't. They should.
They haven't done a gay dating show yet.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
But I feel like everyone would just have sex with each other.
That's what they do on regular reality TV.
No. But like, see, when they're all going for a girl, there's only one person they want to have sex with. You put a bunch of gay guys going after some similar gay guys.
Do you think that's why they haven't done it yet, or do you think that
I think it's just going to turn into an orgy.
Do you think that reality TV networks are just really homophobic?
Could be all of the above.
Oh, that's fair. Okay.
But it's very much around the same premise. But it's based on F-Boy Island, as you can assume. It's on an island. With three girls as the main characters, the people everyone's going for. It is Nakia, Sarah, and CJ are the three women. The ghouls, as I like to put. And then 24 guys. And
so how are you splitting up? How do they split up the guys? Like, how do they differentiate between the fuckboys and the nice guys?
Well, there's 12 and 12 of each.
Okay.
And it's all by their own self-proclamation. They're not, like, actually digging into these people's lives and, like, judging them. It's all based on self-proclamation by the guys.
And the funny thing is that all of these guys had to send in a video audition.
Oh my
beforehand.
god, they get so fucking cringy.
They get really gross.
They play them at random parts throughout. I'm pretty sure I have a quote from somewhere in here about it, that I'll say, especially from the worst one, I'll say it. But, like, they get very bad. Like, they are terrible people. But it's great television. I can't tell you that much.
So, jump into why you think other people should watch this show.
Because the amount of cringiness is to die for, and it's also really good at identifying how men manipulate women.
So,
because that's the premise of the show.
What I'm understanding from you is that the basis of this show is that these 24 guys are competing against competing against each other for these three girls.
Yes.
And these three girls have to differentiate between they have to pick one guy. And at the end of the show, what happens if they pick a nice guy versus a fuckboy?
See, at the beginning, when you start at the beginning, you have no fucking clue. Like they
what
just
the
say
grand prize is.
They just say there's a price. They don't say how it's going to work between the people.
Yes.
I'll get into that later because no one knew about that until the last episode. No one knew how the money actually worked. So that's going to go in later.
But what happens if they pick a fuckboy?
The fuckboy basically has complete control and will win said money.
Okay, so I'm not going to dig into this any more than I need to because we're going to get to a little bit later about the prizes and stuff. But I just want to be very clear with the people that are listening, to the people that have not watched the show. So I would definitely say that this is a show. It's a game show sort of situation, and the guys get eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite parts of the show was the fuckboy reflection. So
you mean fuckboy rehab?
Yes.
Rehabilitation program.
Yes.
Yeah, that was.
So once they get eliminated, they get sent to another villa that's on the same island.
If they were a fuckboy, they get sent to this little shack on the beach called Limbro, and that's where all the fuckboys go. But if they were a nice guy, they go to this like massive villa with like everything they could ever ask for, called the Nice Guy Grotto. And they're right across like a little inlet from each other, so they can literally see all the fuckboys. It's like living in a shack. It's pretty hilarious. And they go through like the host, Nikki Glazer. Oh, love her to death. She goes in like every episode and will do like little rehabilitation programs. They're all scripted. They're 100% scripted, but they're just hilarious to watch. Your nice little breaks in the random drama that goes on during the show.
So let's get into the first episode, night one.
Night one. So basically, it's all of these guys, and the first ones are, not everyone's important. There are a lot of characters that don't even...
Like, sometimes you'll see one in an episode and you'll be like, who are you?
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen you before.
You have no idea. But I got a slight intro for, like, the actual important people. Like, Garrett, Jared... Casey, Welcome, Greg, Chris, Jomar, Anthony, Casey, New, Jared, Josh, Fernando, Sean, Paul, Tyreek, Jamie, Mark are like...
Just to be clear, there is OG Jared, and then they introduce 3 new guys.
And then one of them is New Jared, yes.
And so there is, at the end of this, there's a total of 27 guys that the girls have to sift
have gone through, yes. That is correct. But night one is like the introduction, so all 24, so they kind of do like their introduction, like the guys are there like, oh hey, like they talk about themselves or some stupid shit, take off their shirts. One of them like was grinding on a chick, so that was pretty interesting.
Why was that out of all of the things interesting to you?
It shows balls, literally. But then the girls had the choice of giving 3 wristbands to like a VIP section for like alone time with them. And so they picked characters and they picked some of the guys and gave them wristbands to do it. And then they all went to like a big party and like had like a big, like everyone tried like shoot their shot, try to get like placed pretty much. It is basically night one. You don't really see much. They kind of talk a little bit. But for the most part, like some people show their true colors because they suck, but that was pretty much it for the first like episode. Nothing really happened other than like side characters finally, like characters that weren't going to be anything important going away.
Yeah, I would say that.
Except for Peter.
During this first episode, I think that a lot of people are trying to get, like the fuckboys specifically, are trying to get their like manipulation on. And so you see like, oh, I'm just here for the money, and nobody knows the grand prize and nobody knows anything about it, but they're like, no matter what, I will be picking the money, or no matter what, I'm going to be picking one of these girls. But during the first episode, everyone kind of claims which girl they're going to be attracted to the most. And I would say that a couple of people in the show, like the men, switch up like about 2 or 3 episodes in.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I had my eye on CJ at first, but now I'm into Sarah. Is her name Sarah? Her name's Sarah, right?
Yeah.
And things of that sort. But you can automatically tell. Well, it was pretty easy to tell who was who's a fuckboy and who wasn't. Automatically.
Yes. Very, very much so, because they're all trying to manipulate, get into like the good graces like immediately, and like make their like statement like, I'm gonna win, I'm gonna like give it everything.
Yeah.
So in the first episode, elimination came out. All side characters, no one really that important except for Peter. Peter is a crowd favorite.
Who is Peter?
He's the Asian guy.
Oh, Peter!
Peter got eliminated first, just because he really, really sucked. He was kind of a douchebag.
Well, he was a self-proclaimed
fuckboy,
so that makes sense.
But yeah, so that was really it. First episode was just kind of baseline, like explanation of how everything worked. But we get a lot of insight on the guys in the next coming episodes. Because there's nothing really big or major that happens until about episode 3. But some notes that I did make were all the guy interactions, how they all kept, I swear, if you go through the transcripts of this series, the one word the guys say the most is respect. Because they're always like, they ain't showing me no respect. They ain't showing no respect. You don't respect me, I don't respect you. Like, I swear to God, they all had boners for respect.
Well, that, and then also, like, I have such a deep connection for you, with you, or, like, they used a bunch of keywords, and it wasn't just, like, once or twice. It was, like, everyone was using the same words, and everyone was making sure that the girls knew, like, oh, I want a connection with you. I see you for you. And I don't know if it was scripted in a way that they were made to use these words, or if it was just like, this is the way that they usually manipulate their way into girls' pants.
I think it's the manipulation thing, because they couldn't script anyone that was still on the show, because there's money on the line, so they legally can't script it.
How do you know that?
I did a lot of research going into this.
Okay, keep going.
But there's just like a lot of things, and there's some bromances, some pretty intense bromances that we'll get into with two main characters, I would say, of the entire show. Yeah. Garrett and Casey. They got all the way to the point where they decided after the show they were going to move in together.
It's not homo.
It's home bro.
It's home bro. Thank you for finishing that.
You're welcome. Then one other thing that happened was the narc incident, the whole thing. There's a guy named Chris who his whole claim was that he was feeding info on what the guys were saying about the girls and like how they were feeling and stuff back to CJ.
But he was doing that in such a way to ensure that he was not going to be eliminated.
Yeah.
So I don't know what his long-term plan for that was, because when they got to the final 3 guys at the end of the show, he would have been eliminated at that
100%.
point. So it's like,
no, he was gone
to
way before that.
No, but what I'm trying to say is, like, he should have gotten a more secure plan on how to sustain his time at the, like, in with the girls, because what he was doing is, like, just being the girl's best friend. He wasn't ensuring that they were actually going to stay attracted to him and, like, keep him in the race.
Just ugly.
Keep going.
And so that got figured out by the guys, and because he was almost voted off at one point, and CJ actually, like, eliminated one of her other prospects just to keep him in so he could keep feeding her more information.
Because during each elimination, they pick 2 guys
as their bottom 2.
Yes. And so to ensure that they are keeping everyone on their toes, the host makes it obvious, like, it basically just asks why these 2 men are in the bottom 2, and then the women eliminate their bottom 1, and it really just puts them, like, in a space where, like, they have to be constantly on their toes, because it's not just like, oh, one and done, they'll pick someone, and then it's like, no, if you're in the bottom 2, like, you need to step up your game if you don't get officially eliminated.
Yes. But so he got in one of the girls' bottom 2, I think it was Sarah or something, and CJ was like, I'm gonna sacrifice both mine to keep Chris.
Yeah.
And I was like, everyone thought that was sus as fuck.
Well, everyone knew that he was snitching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Next thing was the first curveball.
Okay.
And that was when the 3 new men were added to the show.
Yes.
And the 3 new men that were added were New Jared, Welcome, and Jomar.
So I would say New Jared, I thought automatically was a fuckboy.
I did too.
He's an international athlete. I think he said he was in football.
He was a football player for, like, some European country.
Wuhan.
Wuhan, yeah.
Yes,
Wuhan.
he was playing football in Wuhan, but I don't know if it's soccer or if it's actual football.
Like, American football.
Okay. I just didn't know if they use the term soccer in China too.
I don't think they do.
But anyways, he was just, like, talking up about the fact that he had, like, hella bitches, and, like, he was constantly, like, women were surrounding him and he had all the attention.
He also started, like, a lot of shit talking with the guys. Like immediately, like he would automatically like shit talk right back. Like didn't take nothing. Like everyone was like fucking with him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, well you're just jokes, or like you just have a small dick or some shit like that." Like,
yeah, so he didn't take anything, and he also is very clear that like he had intentions with CJ, and on top of that, he made sure that everybody knew he was an international athlete.
Yeah.
Welcome, when he first came in, he was like, he didn't really say much the first couple of episodes he was there, and then he just came out of nowhere, and he like got with Sarah. But I think that the first episode that he was in, everyone was like, oh, he's just tatted up, like, he just, you know, like, he's a pretty boy kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then Jomar was the most side character of side characters.
Oh.
He had this big hair, and then he got eliminated almost immediately.
Yeah, he was not good. Welcome, I liked a lot, actually. I'll have to tell you about that later.
Okay.
But he was great. Jomar was just some Puerto Rican dude who literally talked maybe twice throughout the entirety of it.
I don't even know if he talked that much.
Yeah. But then the first clash, OG Jared and New Jared instantly started bickering and like bitching out each other all the time.
They always were butting heads, and it wasn't just because they shared the same name.
It wasn't. It should have been.
But they did also want the same woman, so.
Yes. So this far in, not much is happening. We start to see more of the standout couples, the people who are like, those people are going to be advancing. And so we got those written out. So for Sarah, her top three, while she was still talking to other people, but the three that you like knew, like, okay, there's something going on there.
Throughout the entire season, yeah.
Sarah and Garrett.
Okay.
Sarah and Josh.
Yes.
And Sarah and Welcome, that's a little bit closer near the end.
Yeah.
When he started becoming more, but those were her top three. CJ and Casey, CJ and Sean, and CJ and New Jared.
Yes.
Those were pretty much her standard. She never really went for anyone else, I think, like throughout the entire show.
Yeah.
And then lastly is Nakia. Nakia was with OG Jared, Greg, and Fernando.
Forgot about Fernando.
The masseuse.
The masseuse.
The masseuse. So we start to see more about these couples. A lot of drama comes up, especially surrounding OG Jared and Garrett. The most tea starts to come out. So at this point, Garrett, one of the main F-boys on the show, it came out that he possibly could have a girlfriend back home, and it was told by his bromance partner Casey.
Well, that was because there was the second main curveball of the show was that there was a elimination where they did their bottom two and then everyone got eliminated. But Casey said that he had real feelings for CJ, and he ends up coming back to the girls. And because he's like, I'm done with this. Like, I'm done being a fuckboy. I want CJ. Like, I don't want to be a fuckboy anymore. So he gets out of limbo and he walks his ass back to the girls' villa. And CJ's like, where? Like, this was like 2 episodes after he got eliminated. Yeah. And everyone's like, this is against the rules.
I still don't understand.
I don't understand that.
How that's fine.
I think it was because it added to the drama, and they were just like, let's just keep filming. Like, Casey's a good character because Casey brought something.
Yeah.
1, with his bromance with Garrett, and 2, he brought something because him and CJ like had a quote unquote real connection. So he walked his ass back to the villa, but when he first got eliminated, he threw Garrett under the bus, and he was like, I'm going to tell everyone that you have a girlfriend back home. So then there's this huge curveball where Sarah no longer trusts him because... Do you want to finish this story?
Yeah, so because like they also did social media dives. So this was told, then literally the next episode, a laptop magically appears and they do social media dives on all their big
Which they weren't
picks.
allowed to have any like
social media phone,
yeah.
So they finally were able to, so they do like deep dives, like FBI searches on all the guys. And Garrett, in his tagged photos, has a picture with like a girlfriend saying like, I love you, and like all this stuff. So Sarah gets so pissed to the point where she's like, I need to fucking FaceTime this girl. And so they set up a FaceTime and like she talks to this girl. I think she was on Love Island actually.
I have to say something. That would single-handedly be the most awkward moment of my life, to the point that I looked back, like I thought differently of Sarah after that, because one, she let him back in after that, and two, she got to the point where she was like, I can't trust him, but I'm going to do this anyway to prove that he's not in a relationship. She was like, I'm going to go out of my way to trust him, and it was gross, and I didn't like it, because like if you can't trust someone, you shouldn't be with them right away.
I agree, 100%. But, so that was, that curveball and drama started with that, like, yelling and everything, people walking off, people getting pissed off, whole thing. Then the next big curveball that came in was at episode 7. We're finally down to like final guys and everything, and we know that during this reveal, everyone had to reveal what their status was.
Well, that was because it got to the point where one of the guys in one of the girls' bottom 2, I think it was it OG Jared? No. Who was it? It was Greg, maybe?
Who are you talking about?
The one that was always dressed really nice.
OG Jared, who said I loved you.
Yes. He said that, and so he was talking to Nakia.
This was during that. So this is right before he was in the bottom 2.
And she was about to kick him out, and then he's like, well, I think I'm in love with you. And then the host is like, well, if love's involved, everybody has to reveal their actual status, like what they are.
And so out of everybody who was there that night, the actual status was Josh, one of Sarah's pick, nice guy. Welcome, F-boy. Jomar, F-boy. Fernando, nice guy. Sean, nice guy. Greg, F-boy. Colin, F-boy. New Jared, nice guy. Chris, Garrett, OG Jared, and Casey, all F-boys at this point.
Yeah.
So, huge list. Most of them are F-boys. This really changed a lot of stuff because people had no idea. No one knew about Welcome. They were like, really? Like, I remember they're all like, damn, Welcome. Really? And he goes...
I think that you should narrate what you're doing, because this is an auditory situation, so they can't.
Oh, like he put like his hands out to the side and like did a little clap, and he was like, "Damn, I'm sorry, guys." Yeah. He was like doing like one of those, and it was funny. The one that no one else really saw was Colin being an F-boy. No one really saw that.
Yeah.
And then so then the next thing. So this is after. So OG Jared comes out saying he was an F-boy right after saying he loved Nakia and like this whole thing. So all the guys start like shitting on him, like shutting him out of conversations, doing like, what the fuck? Like, you're really saying you love a girl for money and like a whole bunch of shit.
It was that on top of the fact that Nakia had an issue with OG Jared in the first place, and that's why he was in the bottom 2, because he wasn't showing his actual like feelings towards her. He was hyping it up. He was saying, I'm in love with you, I'm gonna do blah blah blah, like we're gonna get off this island, we're gonna have a life together. And she was like, okay, then show me, prove to me that you actually are feeling these things, because what you're showing me right now doesn't make any sense. Like, if you're in love with me, make it make sense. And so everyone was shitting on him for it, and they were like, all the guys got together and they were like, you can't be in love with him. And then they had this pool party, and everyone gets together, and Nakia's like basically screaming at him, and she's like, if you love me, prove to me that you love me, because I'm frustrated, I'm done. Like, in private, you're all over me, and you tell me how you feel, and you prove to me that you love me, but in public, you don't want to fucking show me anything. So he like continues to get shit on, and all the guys are giving him such like a hard time for it, and he's like, you know what, like, I don't worry about it, like, I'm gonna figure it out kind of situation. And then they get on this boat ride, where such an awkward fucking boat ride, because all the girls are like making out with one of the guys, and then I think it was CJ made out with like 2 different guys, and I was like, if I was on this boat ride, I would,
the worst one, dude.
I know, I would literally cry, because it's like the girl that you like is like making out with several different men at the same time, and it just like I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it without punching someone.
Yeah. And so basically, yeah, that whole thing happens, and they go through another elimination round. Then we get down to like the final. So we got like the final 3, then we get to the final 2. And this is where shit gets fucking hilarious. So
it gets so weird.
So we're down. So they just eliminated the third person off, and they're down to their final 2.
Yes.
And so what they do is they literally get all the nice guys and the F boys and compile them into one group. And they have all the other guys sitting up front, and the girls there, and they just start answering, like asking questions and fucking showing like receipts and conversations and lighting everybody up.
I think that was really beneficial because everyone could have a say, because everyone that was eliminated came in and they were like, we have evidence that they've said these things. We want to like look out for the girls now, and we're ensuring that you guys are making the right pick. And they did this in such a way where the girls had all the information that they needed. They knew who was the fuckboy and who wasn't the fuckboy, but it was hard for me to understand why they still needed all of this evidence, but it made me feel good about the guys that were eliminated. Not because like they had nothing to lose, but because they were like, okay, we actually want you to pick a good guy because like we enjoyed your company and we're going to ensure that you actually pick the right guy.
Yeah. And that actually formed friendships later on. It did.
But all the final like 6 guys that were there got roasted. Sean was the only good one though.
No, Sean and Josh.
Everyone
else literally ripped to fucking pieces.
Because one of the guys like said that he still had a girlfriend, I think. Who was it? It wasn't Garrett. Because
it was fucking Casey.
It was Casey. Casey said he still had a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And he told everyone, all the guys, that he had a girlfriend before he got eliminated.
Yeah.
And then all of the guys that got eliminated were like, bro, he has a girlfriend. Like, why are you trying to choose him?
Yeah. So then we get to the final 2. So this is the final pair. So the girls got their top 2, and they have to make their final decision, but they have this huge 24-hour date. I'm going to get to the premise of it later. It's kind of fucking disgusting. So the top 2s goes as fair. Sarah and Garrett, and Sarah and Josh. CJ and New Jared, CJ and Casey. Nakia and Fernando, and Nakia and OG Jared. So those are the pairings. And so they went on these 24-hour dates, back to back, I'll tell you. Back to fucking back.
Well, we didn't even talk about the fact that before this, they went on dates. The girls went on dates with their final 2.
Together. Oh.
Yeah, they did 3-person dates. And that was weird because all the guys were fighting for the girls' attention and then beating on each other.
I forgot about that,
because, like, they were like, oh, well, she's best for me, no, she's best for me, and they got in a bunch of fights. And then after that, they went on these individual 24-hour dates.
So they're a huge 20. So they spend the whole day together, and basically they go on, like, these really romantic, gooey dates. And then at the end of the night, the girls have the choice of bringing them up to the room with them or having them sleep on a cot.
In the living room.
And so there's 3 cots. They each have their own bedrooms. And basically the way it goes is her and Josh have this like... So I'm starting with Sarah. Sarah and Josh have these like... Has this great date. They go
part of the premise of the date is that the nice guys go on the first 24-hour date with the girls. So the first day is just nice guys with the girls.
Yes.
Because each of the girls have picked one nice guy and one fuckboy. And so the first night is just...
the good guys.
Yes, and then the next night is the fuckboy date.
So the good guys, so Sarah and Josh, they're on this lovely like little hike, and they're like, you know, really getting to know each other, talking, laughing, a bunch of really weird making out. And then they end the night in the room together.
Yes.
CJ and Garrett and New Jared go on this huge long car drive, you know, same thing, they go to sleep together. But Nakia and Fernando sleeps on the cot.
Yes. And
so then they go back and they finish this day, and then the next fuckboys come in.
Yes.
And super awkward. All 3 of these days.
Sorry to interrupt you, but there is a tiny little moment that you kind of see like the guy's weakness is they're all sitting at breakfast talking to the girls, and they're like, we have confidence that all of our dates went really well, like all the nice guys' dates went really well, but they were all collectively worried that since they weren't fresh on the girls' mind before the elimination round, that was going to be an issue, and the girls were going to forget how much fun they had with the nice guys and just think about the dates that they had freshly with the fuckboys.
Very true. So they went on. So the next dates came in, and it was Sarah and Garrett. Super awkward at the beginning because she was still pissed off at him,
but then she was like, "Let's have a good time."
Let's have a good time. So they get really drunk. They sleep together. Then CJ and Casey.
Yes.
Same thing. It's awkward. They had so much fun their other date, but they're like, you know what? Let's just enjoy the night.
Well, she was just feeling OG Jared more at that point, new Jared more at that point, and she was like, I had such a good time with him yesterday, and I still don't trust Casey because I'm pretty sure he has a girlfriend and all this stuff. And then she leaves him out on the cot in the living room, and then he was like acting like a sad little puppy, and she like noticed and was like, oh, okay, fine, you can come up to my room, kind of thing.
Yeah. And then finally was Nakia and OG Jared. That was a terrible date. For some reason, they slept together after that. But the most awkward thing about that was the beef that happened after these dates. So all the guys were back at the place. So the next morning, all the guys were back at the place. And they're there and they're talking, and they're like, oh, yeah, we had good dates last night. And then new Jared, the first thing that comes out of his mouth is, hey, how'd my dick taste? As he's looking at Casey. And Casey, like... He's there, he's like...
He goes white.
He goes like white. He's like, huh? And he goes, how my fucking dick taste, boy? And like yelling at him and shit. And they all get heated. Like at that point, I thought someone was going to fucking fight each other.
Well, then the fuckboys and the nice guys have to take a break from each other because they're like, oh, well, we have confidence that they're going to choose us. No, we have confidence that they're going to choose like all the nice guys and blah, blah, blah. So this like keeps going. And then they have to like kind of settle themselves down before the final elimination round.
So the final elimination choice comes down. So this is when the money is finally described on how it's going to break down. So... the girls have to lock in their choice before elimination. So before they even see the guys or anything, they have to lock in their choices. So they do that. And then the way the money, it's split up. So it's $100K. And it's either one of two ways. If they pick a nice guy, it's automatically split between the girl and the guy. But if they choose a fuckboy, the fuckboy has the power. So that basically means that the fuckboy could keep the whole $100K or choose to split it with the girl if that's what he wants to do.
Choose to split it with the girl and stay with the girl.
Yes.
Yes.
But if they just take the money for themselves, they have to also break up with the girl.
Yes. And
so the final decisions do come in. The final choices are CJ and New Jared. Since New Jared is a nice guy, there was no decision that needed to be made. It was all split right down the middle. Nakia and OG Jared. She chose OG Jared, who's a fuckboy, and he decided to also split the money. And then we come down to Sarah and Garrett. And so Sarah just pushed away Josh, someone she should have picked, in my opinion. Josh seemed like
everybody thought that.
And so she picked Garrett. And Garrett's there, and he was there, and, you know, he made this whole speech. He's like, yeah, you're so amazing, and, like...
I could see myself spending the rest of my life with you, blah,
but
blah, blah.
I'm gonna keep that fucking money. And he was there, he was like, I came here to win, and I won. And then...
And everyone's just like, bro, you didn't win because you didn't get...
The girl. She was the prize. She goes, no, the money's the prize, man. He's like, I came here with one thing in mind, give him that fucking money. And then, so... that pissed off everybody, just the way he handled
including the host.
The host. And so the host does this. She goes, you know what? You're not getting any money. We're going to take that $100K, give it to Sarah for her to donate all of it to charity instead.
And he was
pissed. So that's how it ended. And so basically everyone made the right choice except for Sarah.
Well, I think that Sarah's one better off in the end.
Yes.
And two, Garrett sucks. And it was entertaining while it lasted. We started the second season.
Oh, bad.
And it just wasn't as good. It didn't have as much, you know what I mean?
Of that oomph.
Yeah, it didn't have enough of the oomph. And there's a lot of very awkward men on that show, on the second season.
Oh, God, yeah. It's bad.
Yeah.
But the news from what I've heard recently about in my preparing for this episode, I might have spiraled into a hole where I learned some more information. Sarah and Garrett have been seen out in public together. Sarah and Greg
Okay.
were also seen coming out of a store together.
Okay. Well, they could just be friends.
Yeah, they could. That's where they are just a friendship.
Yeah.
But apparently, Sarah and Garrett have had conversations about maybe a second start, a fresh start, another chance.
That's disgusting. She's given him like 12 chances.
But all the couples have since broken up, by the way. None of the couples have stayed together.
That's awful.
They all broke up. Like, I think it was like a year and they all broke up.
Well, it's kind of like that show that we watched. What is that show that we watched?
Married at First Sight?
No.
Love is Blind?
Love is Blind, that show, where we were like really surprised that those couples broke up. Like we found out that
there was the one that was really surprised about. There was one, I forget their names, but there was one I was really surprised about.
So, to finish up this episode, is there any final conclusions you've come to about this show? Would you watch the second season? Is there any new shows you're excited to watch?
I know you have a show, but for this show, this is a roadmap to not watch this show if you don't want to be manipulated as hard. Because this show is a pretty good roadmap for like how guys can manipulate you for sex or for getting something from you.
Well, the thing is that Garrett, it was interesting to see Garrett behind the scenes because like in person he was like all over Sarah, and then behind the scenes he'd be like, oh, I'm just in it for the money. Like he would literally flash between him with Sarah and then him in an interview, and he'd be like, I'm just in it for the money, I'm just in it for the money, and then he's back with Sarah and he's like, I love you so much, we have such a great connection, blah blah blah. So like I would say that it is a really good way of like trying to figure out if someone's manipulating you, but at the same time it also is manipulating you for sex. Let me just put it that way. But I think it is also going to be a bit confusing for some people, and people might mix up kind of the difference between the two.
Yeah, I definitely think that's
because
possible.
Everyone, like there was the rehabilitation of some of the fuckboys, like Casey, and he said he was rehabilitated, and Peter.
Oh yeah, because Peter on season 2, because Peter is also in season. This is why we love Peter.
Peter got, to remind the audience, Peter got eliminated in the first round of season 1, and then he comes back season 2 as a nice guy, a rehabilitated fuckboy, and now he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
So I would say that the show is funny for that situation where throughout the entire season, the host goes into limbo, and she's like, okay, so what caused you to be this way? And they're all like very, like they're funny scenes to watch, but at the same time, it's not like serious.
Yeah, no.
And there isn't like I wouldn't trust any of the guys to be like, yeah, I am rehabilitated.
Yeah, I wouldn't, but it's a funny little shot, I guess.
Yeah. So, any final thoughts?
Funny show, pretty cringy. You get a lot of this like weird shit, but it's a good watch, I say personally, if you just have some time to kill.
Well, the next show that's really big on Netflix right now that I just told Len about, it came out this year. Actually, it came out earlier in August. It's called Dating and Related.
How?
So let me give you the premise, and we'll talk about it on a later episode. But the basic premise is single siblings help each other search for their soulmates in a villa. It's always in a villa. You should see Len's face. It's very shocked right now.
I don't want my sister helping me go fuck some bitch. I feel like that's what it sounds like.
Because we talked about, I don't know why we were talking about this, but we were talking about like if we would trust our parents to set us up with someone like to marry.
I'll trust my mom.
And I'm not saying like, I think it's just because like I feel like I know my parents very well, but at the same time, my mom once looked at my dating profile and she's like, you're into these types of men? And she was like very surprised.
Thank you for that.
No, like it was a lot of, you know what I mean? Like it was just different than what she imagined.
Yeah.
And so I think that I wouldn't trust them for that reason because Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So, like, we talked about, like, having our parents set us up, but even then, like, I don't think I would trust...
I wouldn't trust my sisters.
I think that a lot of it is because you and I have a really, like, it's not in a, like, bad way, but we're just very shallow when it comes to, like, the way that somebody looks. And because you and I have to be attracted physically to the person in order for the relationship to work.
Yeah, there has to be an initial attraction.
Exactly. And so, like, our parents or our siblings could set us up with someone that we vibe with really well, but it could just turn into a friendship because we're not physically attracted to that person.
I agree.
Yes.
But I think that show is borderline incesty, and I'm terrified to watch it.
So, I think we should at least try one episode.
We will,
and
of course.
See what happens. I hope everyone has a great week, and let us know what we should review next. Any last words?
Happy birthday, Pearl.
We have many thanks for the use of our theme music, which is the song Drop by Ketsa. You can find more of their music online at ketsa.uk. You can also find Date These Guys online on Twitter and Instagram at Date These Guys, or visit our website at datetheseguys.org. If you have questions you'd like us to discuss on the podcast or marriage proposals for either of us, shoot us an email at datetheseguys@gmail.com.